Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we are going deep on aluminum.
Ooh, that's a fun one.
It is. Aluminum is everywhere.
It
Yeah.
is. It really is. Like, it's just so common.
Yeah, so we're going to really take a look at what makes this metal so special and why it's used in everything.
Hmm.
From soda cans
Right.
to spaceships.
Yeah, exactly.
So first off, um, when I think about aluminum, I just think of how incredibly light it is.
Mm-hmm.
You pick up a piece of aluminum and it's almost like,
It feels fake almost.
yeah, it feels like it should be hollow or something.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so steel is like 3 times denser than aluminum.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like how,
So, like, if you had a piece of aluminum that was the same size as a piece of steel, the steel would be like 3 times heavier.
yeah,
It's wild. And this is like one of the big things that makes aluminum so useful. Because, like, especially when you think about things like airplanes, cars,
mm-hmm.
where weight is a big factor.
Yeah.
Being able to reduce weight without sacrificing strength is like
Cooch.
a huge deal. Yeah.
Okay, so this is like, what blows my mind is that something can be so light
Yeah.
and also be incredibly strong.
Yeah.
So like, how is that even possible?
Right. Well, I mean, it kind of comes down to the atomic structure of the metal,
Mm-hmm.
but it also has to do with how we process it, right? So aluminum melts at a relatively low temperature.
Okay.
It's about 660 degrees Celsius, which is...
Which is still pretty high.
Oh, it's hot. Don't get me wrong. It is hot. But compared to like a lot of other metals, it's like relatively easy to melt and shape.
Right.
And so that has a couple of big advantages, right? One is that it makes aluminum really energy efficient to recycle.
Oh,
So you can like melt it down and reuse it over and over again.
okay.
And it takes a lot less energy than it does to actually like produce new aluminum from raw materials.
Gotcha.
So it's like a kind of a superhero metal that's also good for the planet,
Right.
which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, so you mentioned shaping it.
Yeah.
So this is where the whole strong but light thing comes in.
Exactly, yeah. So if you think about like aluminum foil,
Mm-hmm.
right, you can crumple that up with your hand.
Right.
That's because it's what we call a cast alloy,
Mm-hmm.
which basically means that it was like poured into a mold and left to cool.
Okay.
But to make aluminum really strong, we have to do something called rotting.
Rotting.
Rotting, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's not as like scary as it sounds, right?
Okay.
So imagine like you're a blacksmith, you're like hammering on a sword, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not just changing the shape of the metal, you're actually aligning the tiny little crystals
Okay.
inside the metal. So you're making it like more organized, stronger.
Okay.
That's kind of what we do with raw aluminum. So we like roll it, we extrude it, forge it,
Yeah.
all these processes that basically realign those little crystals, and it's what gives it that incredible strength.
Oh, okay. So wrought aluminum is like
It's like a super
organized.
super strong version of the metal.
Okay, that's why it's used in things like bike frames and airplanes.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. And then on top of all that, it has like one more superpower up its sleeve,
Okay. Lay on me.
which is that it's naturally resistant to corrosion.
Really? Like, why is that?
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So like when aluminum is exposed to air, it forms this like super thin layer of aluminum oxide
Mm?
on its surface, right?
Okay.
It's almost like it creates its own little like protective armor.
Okay.
And it's this oxide layer that makes aluminum so durable and long lasting, especially like in outdoor settings.
Right.
So, think about things like window frames,
Mm-hmm.
gutters,
Mm-hmm.
even boats.
Mm-hmm.
Like they can withstand the elements,
Right.
Without rusting or falling apart.
So aluminum is light, strong, it can be shaped,
Mm-hmm.
and it can withstand the elements.
Pretty good.
It's like no wonder it's used in everything.
Yeah.
Like the ultimate multi-tool of the material world.
Exactly. And, what's great about it, too, is that it's very efficient to recycle it.
Right.
It has a surprisingly low environmental impact when you do recycle it.
Wow.
So as we move towards a more sustainable future, aluminum's properties could be really important in developing new technologies and building a greener world.
It really makes you wonder, like, with all these amazing properties, what other uses
Right.
we'll find for it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. It was
A deep one.
a deep one. We'll see you next time.
See you.
Yeah.